What's up, guys? James from Twisted Assisted here. I'm sorry I've been a bit quiet lately. I have been super busy in bringing the latest knife, the Fortis, getting the production done on that, getting it all QC'd, and just basic administration of the company. So, been very tied up. And so that's why you haven't heard from me. Now, today we're just going to do something a little bit different. Usually my videos are either a tutorial or in some way related to our products at Twisted Assisted. But you know what? I'm kind of sick of doing that. So one of the questions that I get asked a great deal is, what knives do I have in my collection? So I thought today would be kind of cool if we just maybe focused on what fixed blades that I own, what has been the distillation of 35 years of collecting knives, and 10 years of being in the knife industry and having access to wholesale knives, and just what have I ended up with after 35 years. I think that might be an interesting one. So I'm going to start off, we're going to do biggest to smallest on which fixed blades that I actually own. We're going to start off with the biggest here. This here I acquired from Blue Ridge Knives, which is a wholesaler that specialize. They're based in the US, and they've got something crazy like 850 brands they sell. And so lots and lots of knife porn there, lots of choice. And I settled on this as my fixed blade. This is made by OKC, which is the Ontario Knife Company. And this one here is one of their Ranger series. They made these about 20 years ago. And Blue Ridge Knives were doing a special offer where they were selling off factory seconds. And they sold the factory seconds, just the blade, no handle, no sheath, no bolts, not even sharpened. And they were selling them for $20. So I thought, you know what? I'll have some of that. It arrived. I had a look over it. And literally the only thing that had sort of classified it as a factory second was just the barely imperceptible bow along the tang of the blade. And I thought, well, good enough for the girls I go out with. So I thought, for $20, that'll do. And first thing I did was source some nice rustic black micarta handle scales. They were supplied by GG Carbon, which is a UK-based company. I'm not sure if he's still going. Very nice guy called Gabriel, and he makes his own micarta. So I got some chunky micarta. I topped it off with some red liners there, just to give it a bit of contrast. And you can see that I've textured the scales there. I topped it off with some really heavy duty bolts. These are countersunk, so it's really straightforward to fit these, and they are slotted as well, as you can see, slotted both sides. Once sharpened, handle scales on. This has been my camp knife, my user, for about 5 or 6 years, and you can see that I've been doing some battening with it. If I go into the woods and I want to pack light, don't want to take an axe with me, then I bring the NS9. Now, the name NS stands for Night Stalker, which is a bit worrying, but American names can be a little bit flamboyant. The 9 refers to the fact that it's a 9-inch blade. I think it is just an exceptional blade. I have a thing for recurves. I really like recurves. Recurves are kind of a Marmite blade profile. Some people do not like them. They are more challenging to sharpen, But on a knife of this size with such a gentle recurve, then that really wasn't an issue at all. And there is a kind of almost a cookery feel about it, but it's not got the exaggerated angle of a cookery. And the chopping power, because it's got this recurve, everything, all of the force is just magnified into this point here. So it's a really, really effective chopper. One nice little feature about this knife is that it has a distal temper, which basically means it goes from a sort of 6 mil, 5.5 mil here, and then it gradually gets narrower and narrower and narrower right the way down the blade. Not every knife has that, and it's a nice little touch. That saving of the weight there just keeps it really, really fast. This is not, although it's made from a thick, big old billet of steel, it is still very light and fast in the hand. And that's just something I really dig about it. You've got a bit of quite brutal jimping there. And then you've got a choil so you can choke up on it for detail work. The blade steel, well, that's a bit of a mystery. I believe when they started making these, they made them out of 1095. But later on, they moved to 5160 spring steel. I've just got a feeling that this is a spring steel blade because it's slightly less prone to rusting, which is a feature I've certainly found of spring steel over 1095. 1095 is a great blade steel, but I've always found it very prone to rusting. And it's got like a clear coat or some sort of coating on there, which you can see has just started to wear off. I made my own sheath for it. This sheath I literally made out of little scrap offcuts of leather, and I didn't even have the usual copper rivets. I just had these, which you put in, and then you split the end and it petals out and just holds it. It's not a fancy sheath. It's just very, very practical for what I want. And you can see that I've continued the blade profile. I think it's always nice when your leather sheath actually follows the profile of the blade, and it's not just a shapeless one-size-fits-all kind of deal there. And one thing I topped it off with was a decent lanyard ornament. We got a lovely bead here. For those of you that know Three Leaf Customs, then you'll know that this is one of Tony's. He gifted me this 1 year at Blade, which was very, very kind of him. And it's, yeah, firefighter skull. Really, really nice bead there. It's ironic that the bead is probably 4 times the value of the knife. As you can see, I've had the bead quite close to the lanyard hole, because with a heavy bead, if you have it further down on the lanyard, and as you're chopping and using it, it turns into a weapon and can whack you in the knuckles. So we've just done that. All told, I think this probably cost me about $40 all in all. And it is everything that I want in a fixed blade is right here. I realize that the blade shape might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I just thought Ontario knives do offer fantastic value, considering what you get. If you go for a tops knife, you're going to pay 250, maybe £300 for what is essentially a very similar billet of carbon steel. So I opted for this, and it literally, I've had lots of fixed blades over the years, and it's just all come down to me keeping this one. I don't have any knives which I keep for sort of sentimental reasons or for posterity. These are all users, and I do take pleasure in that, actually. Right, so that's my main chopper, my main camp knife. Let's move on to the next knife in my collection. Here we've got, I think it's important for every collector to have at least one military style knife in their collection. And it was a toss up between getting a K-Bar iconic USMC knife or getting myself a Fairburn Sykes Commando dagger. I opted for getting the K-Bar because you can use it for other things. If you get the Fairburn Sykes, then it's really a beautiful display piece and good for taking out German sentries, but we don't need it for that purpose. So I thought the K-Bar would be an excellent compromise. Rather than buying a brand new one, I was at another knife show and somebody was there selling, they had a bin full of used K-Bars, and I saw this one and I marveled at what great condition it was still in. The edge was not sharp, but it just didn't have any chips out of it. There wasn't a whole bunch of corrosion on it. And I thought, okay. I've dated this to about the mid-70s. You can tell that because it's got the oxblood sheath and they've got staples in the knife sheath. It's not like one of the later, more recent models that are made in Mexico, and they have rivets periodically. So really beautifully made sheath to go with it. This model has got a sharpened swedge, so that is razor sharp all the way up the swedge. There was some of the coating still on the blade, so what I did was I just polished it out and just gave it a bit of a shiny finish. I love the fact that it's a vintage piece. You've got some on the pommel here, you've got some lovely pitting which gives it some character. You can see that I've gone all tactical and just put some O-rings in the little gaps in the stacked leather handle. And you can see here that it's not peened at the end, but it is pinned there. So that's another good way of dating the knife. All in all, an absolutely iconic, very useful knife. So if you wanted to have a military style knife in your collection, I think that the K-Bar is a really good compromise. And if you can get a second-hand one, then all the better. A lot of history. And it's just one of those knives that's just nice to have in the collection. Okay, let's move on to the next knife in my collection. Here we have the Maron, and this is a knife designed by Ostap Hell, and it is made by real steel, 14C28N steel. It comes, the paracord wrap is mine. It just comes with a skeletonized handle. And first thing I did was, it's a bit uncomfortable to use like that. First thing I did was get a nice paracord wrap on it. I wear it as a neck knife, so I've got no tech locks or anything on the blade. It's really lightweight, it's really low profile, so it's a really comfortable neck knife to wear. It's just got a full flat grind. It's excellent. A good all-round knife if you need a blade. This actually lives in my bug-out bag, and when I pop down to the caravan or I'm out about, it is with me. I've eaten steak with this. It's a great knife for that. Filleted fish. You can prep game with it. I've even taken this diving on several occasions. So the 14C28N really does stand up very well to the sort of saltwater corrosion, things like that. I'm not sure if these are still available actually, but there's something, I've always admired Ostap Hell, his designs. If you haven't heard of him, go look him up. Several of our knives at Twisted Assisted are designed by him, the Tulip and the Beehive. These are just fantastic knives, and I think these are like $25 or were. So if you can grab yourself one on the second-hand market, it's just, for a small fixed blade, it does everything I want it to. The 14C28N takes a really good edge. That is, I'd be heartbroken if I lost that. I really should have bought 2 of them. One of my little sayings is that if you really like a knife, always buy 2, because you could always lose it. And as the Navy SEALs say, 2 is 1. So that's that one there. This is the next one. As you can see, I've got a thing for neck knives. I just find that this size is a size that I use a great deal. They're portable. This here is one of my few custom knives that I own. In 2023, I was exhibiting at Blade Show, and I was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman who was running the booth next to me, and his company is called Blunt Force Blades. And he did this knife, I believe it's called the Poltergeist. And you can see it's a real kind of tactical looking tanto. The blade is tiny. It's, what is it, 1.5 inches, something like that. I haven't put a wrap on it because this knife is just, it's nice to keep it low profile, and it's also got a pocket clip there so it can just sit in your waistband. A really, really just a handy knife to have. When I go to America to do shows or on holiday or whatever, this tends to be the knife that I take with me, because you just put it on around your neck and you forget it's even there. This is a stainless. It's AEBL stainless steel. You can see it's quite a thick piece. It's really overbuilt. And the guy that runs Blunt Force Blades, he's largely self-taught. He's only taken up this hobby pretty recently, and he worked very closely with a knife maker who sort of imparted everything that he knew, and he's just absolutely killing it at the moment. They are fantastic knives. I think these were about $100. Really comfortable in the hand, and it just cuts like a laser. This one, I never sharpen it. I only put it on the strop just to tickle it back up. It's a really, really lovely bit of kit, and not very large at all. Okay, and lastly, we have something a bit fun and funky. Here we have a Fultz Minimalist from Columbia River Knife and Tool, CRKT. This is a special edition. They do many blades in the Minimalist range, and they're all very small. But this one punches above its weight, as they all do. You've got these lovely deep finger chores, well, the grips. Once that's in your hand, it's not slipping out. This blade profile is their Bowie. You've got a nice clip point there. You've got a blade with a lot of belly. It's a fantastic slicer. I said the handle glows in the dark, and also the sheath does as well. And it's got some artwork on there. You can see it there. That is Cthulhu, one of the old ones. So just a bit of nerdy artwork on there. It doesn't take itself too seriously. You've got a little lanyard at the end there. I'm not sure which steel this is. I've got a feeling it is just like a Chinese lower middle range steel. Nothing fancy. It holds a decent edge. It does what I want it to. Right, and that, I believe, is it. Why don't you let me know down in the comments what your top 5 users are? What do you carry? Are you neck knives, or just let me know down in the comments. Let's quickly talk about the Fortis. I'm expecting these to be delivered to me very, very, very soon. Then we've got some quality inspections that we undertake this side. And once that is done, Heine Haynes will be having 5 or 6 exclusive models, and we'll be carrying some on the custom shop. So check in at the custom shop, link in the description. Also, we'll throw a link up to Heine Haynes as well. These are going to be on the shelves very soon indeed. You can see that I've got I think we're going to call this the modified sheep's foot, but yeah, call it what you like. I mean, that's the closest thing, I think. We also got a drop point, and we have them in a range of colors in G10 and in some micarta as well. So please check that out. That's going to be happening very soon. Any other news to tell you? We've got Arthur Wright is making us some very special runs of the traditional slip joints. So watch this space. I'll probably do an unboxing video when the latest production run is ready, and I'll give you guys a heads up here. Thank you very much for all your support, and thank you very much for watching.